Hello everyone, here is one of my favorite games that happened in round 6 of the North American Youth Chess Championships in the girls section. There were quite a lot of interesting games, but I particularly went for this one because I felt that um, it could relate to many of us, because oftentimes we get into positions where we feel we have some pressure, but we get scared of continuing the pressure because we're unable to calculate things, and it's hard to just go based on instincts, and I totally understand it. And I felt that this could be giving us a bit of ideas to what to look for when put in a situation where we need to make a huge decision whether to continue the attack or retreat and try to regroup. So let's get started. The game was played between women candidate master Natalie Vishnovsky against Paula Sofia Hernandez Diaz, and it started as Nimzo Indian with Queen C2. This is a classical variation. I personally have played this myself quite often. Queen C2 many years ago always gave me pretty good results. After castle, I would typically play knight f3 though. One more move to wait to see whether black was gonna play with d5 to attack the center, c5, b6. One of these moves are quite natural, and based on that, I would see whether e4 would be a move that I would consider. But in this case, Natalie decided to go the more aggressive route and went for e4. This is a pretty good opportunity for white too. And then black played d5, e5, knight e4. The whole idea for black is that they cannot allow white to get that much space. You really need to figure out a way to, keep some something active. And with the spin here, knight e4 is definitely necessary. Bishop d3, c5. So now what black does is they try to break the center quite fast and take advantage of the fact that they castled while white did not just yet. And they need to be careful, because if white somehow manages to get extra pressure on the knight in e4 or make it trade in c3 or something, the bishop opens up and white will have some nice attacking ideas. The game proceeded in a natural fashion. Knight f3, black captured, knight takes d4, knight d7, and now bishop f4 because this pawn was attacked. Everything still theoretical, and knight c5. White castled. Unfortunately, there's no easier way for white to do something. I mean, this is an option, but if this happens, black has some opportunities to mess up white's pawn structure, for example, like this, followed by queen c7 or queen a5, put additional pressure on these weaknesses. And without the light square bishop, it's hard to imagine white will be able to build up too strong of an attack. So that's the reason why I believe in this position. Natalie decided to go for bishop f4. So, you're still losing the bishop, but at least, you maintain kind of a nice pawn structure for now. Paula's choice was to take in c3. Now, if you take here, pawn takes, you can maintain your knight a bit longer, but you need to be careful because this knight can easily be chased away from there. So you want to consider twice before making that decision. If the knight doesn't stay for too long, white eventually will have some ways to chase it away. So Paula decided to stay with a bishop pair. And it's kind of an interesting pawn structure that we got here after queen g3, threatening some bishop h6. To win the exchange, black played king h8, and now rook a to d1. Rook f to d1 is also an option. Both moves kind of make sense. Usually I tell my students, when they don't know how to place their rooks, to choose the file that's the closest to the rook that's coming to the square. So we have the b file open and the d file open. So you might say, well, maybe it makes more sense to put this rook instead. But I think queen a5 could have been played, and then, we can go back knight b3, and then queen moves somewhere, and then we can follow through with a capture in d5, and white has a good position. Now, having the rook here is definitely helpful to keep the pawn protected. But in the game, Natalie felt that this rook could be more useful, probably on the f-file, so she chose to bring the a rook, and I like that. Queen a5, rook d2, a nice improvement move that keeps the pawn protected and helps the doubling of the rooks. Now, of course, rook d3 would have been nicer, but this pawn gets to be captured with tempo, so you're trying to avoid that. Taking here was something else you could have done, and the idea would be if you take back, we both have some weaknesses, but maybe she just didn't want to open that bishop. So she felt that maybe it's best to just allow black to take in c4, although white gives up a pawn, the position gets somehow closed, there's just a d file opened, this bishop remains restricted, and with it the rook in a8 will need a bit of time to be taken out. Meanwhile, white can try to focus on a kingside attack. And I think Natalie's done just that. First, she doubled on the d file, and then she started this h-pawn push in order to create some weaknesses and attract black to play a move like h6, which eventually happened and made black's position scary for just a moment. Now, I think there were some improvements here that white could have done. Maybe bishop g5 could have been a way to do things, because now if you trade, for example, I think we can take back with the h-pawn. With the h-file opened up, it might be easier for white to slide over to attack. And yes, you got the bishop, but, you know, it's locked. So I like this bishop g5 idea potentially, and maybe trying to trade, and then the knight can always go back, and with the rooks doubled up, it will be hard for black to take the bishop out because of the entrance on the 7th rank. But Natalie went for h5, which I didn't think was too bad, because it scares black away in a bit with rook g8, and here she went back knight f3. Now, you can say, well, h6 is an idea, sure, but that maybe g6, or maybe g takes h6. G takes h6, opening up the file would help black. But I think the same idea could work. Bishop g5, this is one thing that I was thinking about. She probably felt that this is weak, so that's why she played knight f3, to kind of have the idea to bring a piece to g5. But yeah, there's something slightly better for white here. I haven't quite figured out what it was. Maybe queen f3 could work too, but just to kind of stop black from pushing the b pawn. It's I don't know if knight c2 could bring some additional ideas for white rather than knight f3. I haven't seen something super concrete for white in this position. I didn't think of this. Could this work? That would be crazy. See, this is so cool. Every time I record these videos, I feel like I'm learning a new thing. I'm seeing this new idea, which I didn't see in the first place. I have to be put under the stress of explaining things more in depth. That I come up with the funniest moves. Oh, this is so cute. I didn't see it when I first looked at the game. This would have been actually a nice idea, because if you take, the point is we're opening up this bishop, and since f7 is weak anyways, right? So the queen moves somewhere, and then we can take, and we have bishop e5, and definitely white puts pressure. It's not easy though when you're playing a game to just sack a knight like that. It's a hard decision to make. But that could have been a thing. Could have definitely been a thing to consider for white. Now, when I chose the game, it was not for this moment that I chose it, but that could be an extra moment that kind of reminds you, well, you got to be mindful about piece improvements. So knight c3, h6, and now knight h2. So I love Natalie's idea. You know, she's trying to bring the knight to g4. Since h6 is kind of a weakness, you're thinking, ooh, I can make some sacrifices. Look at that king. Suddenly, if my queen can get to h6, it's going to be a mate. So black plays b5 very fast. Black needs to develop that bishop, bring the rook into play, and just hope for some trades to eliminate some of white's attackers. Now knight g4, and black plays a5. Now, probably black in this position should have... Oh, but that allows rook d7. My bad. Should have tried bishop e7, but it does not work. It is a bit tricky to come up with a best potential solution, and if you do something like this, there will be sacrifices, so you actually have to keep the rook there. And bishop g5 also doesn't really create very much, because now takes, and we have h6 ideas, but also queen e3. So what is a good move for black here? after knight g4, you may ask? Maybe queen c6. Just simply escaping, because we know what the issue is, right? If you go bishop b7, there's an entrance, not just an entrance with tempo and a fork. So maybe you can do this with the idea of bishop b7, and you'll have some pressure in g2. But in the game, black plays a5, queen e3, beautifully found by Natalie. So now her idea is to focus on the h6 square. She wants to sacrifice. She really wants to take advantage of black's king not having sufficient defenses. And she's right to do so. She's got 3 pieces attacking with the pawn close by. This is the moment to consider a potential sacrifice. But after bishop c5, this is the reason why I chose the game. This is the moment, it's a critical moment where you got to tell yourself, do I go back? Or do I try to do something to be able to maintain my threat to h6? And oftentimes we panic for a reason or another, particularly when it involves material. When we have to give up some material, we have the tendency to not be sure, to second guess ourselves, and we are afraid of what could happen if we give up material, but we choose some sub-pair continuations which are not as helpful. But here, if rook d4, right? The thing is, okay, we're sacking the exchange indeed, but we're maintaining that side of the board closed and the threat still very much present. I remember when I looked at the game, we analyzed in the chat quite a bit the different moves that black had, and it took me a while to really find some defensive resources for black, because originally you're thinking, well, let's black, start attacking and creating a pass pawn. But no, this is serious. This is a serious stuff that's happening. You go b3, bam, look at this beautiful mate that's coming. You have to take with the rook if king takes, queen h6. Dovetail mate. This is one of my favorite mates, but yet I have 10,000 stuff that are my favorite, so you would never guess it. Queen h6 check, king g8, checky, rook g8 or not rook g8, king e7, bam. Anastasia or Arabian. I always confuse them. I think it's Anastasia. Mate. So, after rook takes d4, black needs to find something. So in the end, this was my choice. It seems that bar didn't move very much, so I took it that I found something that defends. And f5, right? To open up the 7th rank for the queen to come in to defend. And if we take en passant, he can take here, queen takes h6, queen h7, and now white can trade and go rook d7. And okay, I mean, white's position is it's material down and everything, but white can still hold on to the situation here. Knight e5 is kind of nice because we're still threatening some checks. The bishop is hanging. If you take in g2, we simply go king f1, and you need to come up with the right move for the bishop, and then white has compensation here. But this is a really long line. Black has to find this. White's moves are kind of natural in a way. But I know, like, if you are not sure until the end what will happen, this is not an easy choice. I think here, if you go bishop there, maybe f3 can be played. Chase the bishop, get the rook. And I actually don't know another place where you can move the bishop that it would be safe. If you go here, I don't think this works. I don't want to give up that because I don't think I have sufficient material. But if you do that, if maybe knight g6 checky, you go there. And now we got this move. And then we win. Yay! No, okay. Black has to sack the exchange back and, oops, not here. Over here. We take back, and this should give white sufficient compensation. But that takes a while to analyze. It's much easier for me when I do commentary rather than a player. It's just this kind of idea. You get it with time and with I don't know, with time, I guess. Bishop b7 was played, and what happened in this game was a bit heartbreaking to me to see that happen to white, because now queen g4, rook takes d2, takes, and rook d8. White missed her chance to attack, and now black is actually trading pieces. White had to retreat, And, you know, like, look at that. The rook goes back because you don't want to let them on the file, but you still let them have the file. Bishop a6 to support b4, rook d3, and now it is white who is trying to figure out ways to hold on to the position, and black is in the driver's seat. Bishop b7, back with tempo, and it is here that the final blunder happened by Natalie, but it's just hard to come up with moves because, you know, black actually has that extra pawn. All they have to do is make sure that nothing will be lost when b4 will be played, and that's about it. So unfortunately for her, Natalie here made the final blunder, bishop h4, and she fell for this cute mate. Coming back is a thing in chess. You don't ever give up, and you have to try to take advantage of your opponent's mistakes. And it looks like we have opportunities in chess, more than one, but we gotta learn how to take them. A great game by both girls, and hope you enjoyed the lesson as much as I did sharing it. Okay, well, there's that. Oh, did I miss a rook g7? Oh, there's rook g7 mate. Oh my god. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. I missed a rook g7 mate in my line. Okay, no worries. People on YouTube will love that.